Hey, Pabst Blue Ribbon versus Miller. Here's a preview video because tonight at 7:30 Eastern Daylight Time, 4:30 Pacific. Okay, 4:30 Pacific. William Kepley, what's the ABV? His website is his YouTube channel is gonna do a video called Pabst Blue Ribbon versus Miller High Life, part of his Final Four kind of like NCAA tournament thing. And he did Coors Original, Coors Banquet beer last week versus Budweiser. I voted for Budweiser, not by any great margin. I just thought it tasted a little cleaner, crisper. But 3-2 vote. A 3-2 vote was for Coors Banquet. So they go to the next round. Okay. Here's an article called Milwaukee from 1980, August 1980, National Geographic magazine. Back when it was a Geographic magazine. But in 2017, I canceled my membership because now the National Geographic Society is a left-wing advocacy, agitation, propaganda outfit. And I was like, I don't want my money to go to that. Their articles are never about geography. It's a waste of my time. One of their feature articles was transgenderism. I was like, bye. I quit. I used to be in the AFL-CIO. And somebody told me, why'd you quit the AFL-CIO? I said, oh, I don't like to be part of communist organizations. Okay, here's 1980 Beer Festival in Milwaukee. Schlitz, Miller High Life, and what? Pabst Blue Ribbon. The three biggies of 1980, 40 years ago in Milwaukee. How times have changed. And then there's a great article here about Pabst. The guy went on a tour of the Pabst Brewery. Look what it says, the author. He went on a tour of the Pabst Brewery, and the brewmaster, August Pabst, Vice President of Quality Assurance, says, hi there, how you doing? And he said, the author says, oh, morning, Mr. Pabst, says two brewery workers. Hi, and how are you, says Augie to a hostess at the Hospitality Tavern. Just fine, Mr. Pabst. Okay, and they go on about his life. He was 46 years old, so he'd be 86 now. Now 46 and settled into his third marriage. Oh my goodness. All these brewing families have terrible like personal problems, like all kind of alcoholism and drug abuse. Few industry observers believe that August Pabst, the Uhlines of Schlitz, or the Miller family will ever be at the helms of Milwaukee's great breweries again. Good observation, because none of them are. None of them are family owned today. Miller, Pabst, or Schlitz. Pabst is the favorite beer in Milwaukee, and Pabst's cheerful brewmaster Joseph Muehl offered to show me why. He led me to one of the fermenting rooms, a cool, dark, damp cellar with long rows of orange tanks filled with brewer's yeast and a barley malt mixture called wort. The yeast devours the sugars in the mixture, producing alcohol and happily transferring the wort into beer. This is the critical stage, says Muehl. Here is where 80 to 90% of the beer's flavor characteristics are developed. Listen to this very carefully. Listen. We use a special strain of Carlsberg yeast, which gives our beer a slightly winey taste. We also let the yeast set its own pace. It can take anywhere from 7 to 10 days for the yeast to act on most of the sugars in the wort. So look, they didn't have a timetable. They let the yeast set the pace. Technical advances can make equipment obsolete every 10 to 12 years. In 1970, and they go on and on. In 1970, Philip Morris bought Miller Brewing, and other outside companies have eyed both Schlitz and Pabst. So this was on the cusp of big changes. Schlitz was bought out in 1982, 2 years after the article, and Pabst was bought out in 85, 5 years after the article. Okay, so that was the end of that. 5 years after the article was written, no more family ownership in those places. So we'll go with Pabst first. Yeah, just a little bit. I have some like paper towel to seal it with. Paper towel. So there's Pabst Blue Ribbon, 24-ounce can. It wasn't a super great deal at Walmart, but I just wanted a single, right? I didn't want to buy a whole 12-pack at Mathern's. I could have got bottles or cans, but I didn't want to get a whole 12-pack. So I was like, nah, I'll just get the single and I'll live with it. It's within the Best Buy date. So I'm going to go seal that up best I can. When I first started drinking beer in 1996, I was inclined toward Stroh's beers. We didn't get Stroh's brand here, but we got, like Schlitz and Mickey's and all that. But I like the Stroh's beers, not Mickey's, that was Pabst. Stroh's. Oh, Old Milwaukee, Schlitz, like so many. But anyway, I liked them because, well, they sent me such a nice thing. I wrote them a letter because you didn't have really internet back then. And I said, could you send me some information? Might have had email. I might have used it at the library. And they said, okay. And they sent me this huge booklet, history and sell sheets on every product. It was amazing. And Pabst never would send me anything. So I was like, forget y'all. You can't even send anything. And then I opened a can of Pabst one time and they had a rubber tab in it that had broken off in their brewing process. I was like, these people have some major problems. So I was inclined towards Schlitz, Stroh's. I would always get Stroh's beers, whatever their portfolio was, which was huge. And then, but they stumbled along. And then 3 years later, after I started drinking beer, they got bought out by Pabst. I was reading the paper one morning, sitting at the kitchen table. Pabst Brewing buys Stroh's. I was like, well, yeah, that's the end of that. I guess I'm buying Pabst. Okay, so you can see it's clear, fizzy yellow stuff, straw color. We know what regular beer smells like, looks like, tastes like. But I always said this about Pabst. I said this before I even knew this was the case. I hadn't read the article yet, that it had like a wine flavor, like a strange flavor. To me, Pabst always tasted unusual compared to the other beers. I never was sure if I liked it. I kind of liked it, and I kind of didn't like it. You know what I mean? But I kind of mostly liked it, actually. It was just strange. And I used to drink Ice House beer because it reminded me of Dixie. I don't know why, because it's a lot more alcohol than Dixie, but something about the taste. It was like Dixie beer. But it's just basic. It's like you can taste all the components in a sip. Water, corn mainly. Corn syrup, big deal. That's what they use. I don't recommend it, but that's what they use. They don't care. It's cheap. Don't drink it if you don't want it. That's their attitude. Yeast, fermented, and hops. Well, okay. With Pabst and Miller High Life, you're not really picking up hops. Miller will have a little more bite to it, a little more hop action. I think it must have a little higher IBUs. I don't think the IBUs on Pabst is too high. A little bit more. Yeah, it kind of has that little whiny. Why are you whiny? Why are you so whiny? Whiny flavor like a Chardonnay wine. Strange, isn't it? Little twang to it, I call it. I'm sure Pabst just told Miller, here's our recipe. Brew it exactly according to that recipe. And Miller said, okay. And then they had a court case. They were suing each other. Or really, Pabst was suing Miller for breach of contract. But they settled out of court. Didn't really explain what their settlement was exactly, but it's fine. I mean, Pabst Blue Ribbon is fine. I mean, I wouldn't make a big issue out of it, like saying, "Oh, this is so fabulous." But you know, I could wear the cap, enjoy it, eating. What would I eat? Boiled crawfish, fried shrimp, or boiled shrimp. Hamburger steak type thing, you know, hamburger helper, or stroganoff flavor. What I mean, you know, basic things. Shepherd's pie. Now that sounds like something I need to eat. Shepherd's pie, those kind of things. Macaroni and cheese. Just typical Anglo-American food. Fried speckled trout with French fries, or diced potatoes fried in like a cucumber and tomato salad, maybe with some cornbread and butter, and then some strawberry shortcake for dessert. I'm just thinking of things, or coconut cream pie. I don't know. I wouldn't drink the beer with that. Maybe coffee, yeah. So it's fine. I like it. I like it. It's not cheap like it used to be. It used to be so cheap. Wouldn't buy it because it's so cheap. Now, got popular, so the price went up. Now, here's High Life. It's still kind of cheap, but no beer is cheap these days. This big quart can, and it was $2. That's not a great deal, really. It's certified kosher. You know why it's not a great deal? Because sometimes I can go to a racetrack and get two cans for $3. 2 cans for $3. Quart cans. Not the bottles. The bottles are always more. The quart bottles. Why? I don't know. Yeah, it spills, you little. Make me use some language. These quart cans always spill. And somebody said, turn them sideways. I turned it sideways, still spilled out everywhere. These things are not designed for pouring. You know what they're designed for? Drinking right out the can. And you know it, I know it, the American people know it. Look at that thick head. Oh, my goodness. That's a Miller head. It's got that straw appearance. Now, oh, no. It doesn't smell anything like Pabst Blue Ribbon. Pabst Blue Ribbon. Full metal jacket. Might hear it crackling. Heavy lace. Miller always says heavy lace. Hi, Joker. It's a lot more crisp. Crisp. I'm not saying that it's better though. It's just different. Like it's crisp. Seems like there's a lot more corn. Now, when I went on a tour there 15 years ago, they were saying, might have been 12 years ago, they were saying, we use corn grits, yellow corn grits. And they even had like this glass container in the museum section with corn grits, but they use corn syrup now, cheaper. It's a filler, but you know. Have I noticed a taste difference? No, I haven't. Same hops, the Galena hops, which resist light damage. That's why they can sell it in a clear bottle. It doesn't get skunked. It's just basic. All those foods I've just described, it's the same thing. This would be good with hot wings, baby back ribs, split pea soup, meat lovers pizza from Pizza Hut, char broiled oysters, broccoli and cheese, just that kind of stuff. Steak fajitas, anything like that. Chicken vindaloo. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, nice lacing on the Miller High Life. Oh my goodness. So, and thing about Miller, their head retains like mad love, you know. Now we got bad blood because you saw the Pabst. It was just thin and it was gone. Now look at the Miller. There's like this big top candy mountain a phone. You know, you're riding the train, you're high on cocaine. All right, I'll be right. Okay, I'll finish up and then I'll clean up. So, but this is nothing new. I've been noticing that for years. Their protein retention facility. Thank you, David Garlipy, for this cap. He said it wouldn't fit his head. And he said Amazon was charging him more to send it back than the cap was worth. He was enraged, but he said, you can have it because I can't wear it. I said, can't you adjust it? I mean, it has an adjuster. He said, I adjusted it all the way out and it still wouldn't fit. I said, you have the hugest head in the world, but fits me just toot sweet. Très bien. Winner. This is preliminary. The formal contest will take place at 6:30 Central Time tonight on William Kepley's channel. What's the ABV? I say it's really a tie, honestly, but maybe by some scintilla of preference, maybe I possibly and perhaps prefer the Pabst. Probably it's a tie. If I have to call it tonight, I'm probably going to say Pabst. This could change in 4 hours, 3.5 hours, okay? But if it does change, that would mean that it's nothing. It's like a basketball game that was hard fought in a tournament, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. The teams had the same record. All right, they had the same exact percentage, winning percentage. They both come from good conferences, Southeastern Conference, Atlantic Coast Conference. They played back and forth, and at the last second, one team threw up a three-pointer and made it. Now, there's no way the fans for the winning team could get in somebody else's face and say, we're better, we won. It's like you had two foul calls that were questionable. Of course, you had a chance to make the shot. You're not better. You're not clearly better. It worked out that way. Get out of my face. And that's how these two are. If one is better than the other, than the other, and I'm not sure about that. I really don't believe that. But if one is better than the other, it's so minimal that it's practically meaningless. Okay, so we're going to say it's a tie, really. I'm saying Pabst, but it's really this or that, this or that, this or that, whatever you want. And you know which choice I'm going to make. Whatever is cheaper. When you have a virtual tie, a practical tie, you choose the cheaper item. There's no other way. Why not? Or you can say, I want the label that's prettier. Okay, that would make as much sense, but I would go with the cheaper one. So that's it. Tie with a slight infinitesimal testimonial difference or advantage to Pabst.